Hello, everybody. I swear I don't curl my hair every day. It just so happens every time I make a video. So, I'll give a little update on, I guess, like my health, and then I want to talk about something else. So, I am booked to go for radiation, for my ear. I'm not super excited about it, and it's been like up and down and emotional and scary and everything. So, yeah, so I am going for radiation. It's called gamma knife radiation. It's one time. Well, it's considered fast, but it's basically all day. You go in the morning and they basically drill a crown onto your head and they slide you into a big sort of MRI machine if you've ever seen one. They're basically like a tunnel that you kind of slide in and you lay there and they sort of lock your head into the machine so you can't move at all because it obviously is very dangerous. So yeah, so I'm doing that. Trying not to think about it. I am starting therapy this week, which is exciting because I've obviously been having a hard time handling everything. So I'm excited for some help, to be honest. So there's that. And I'm trying not to think about it too. So yeah, just kind of handle it when I have to. So anyway, so that's that. I wanted to talk a little bit about why I'm vegan, I guess, because that is such a big part of my life, and I am kind of the only one in my family slash friends who is vegan. A few of them are pretty open-minded, but most are not, including my family. And my husband sort of is and isn't. He's technically a vegetarian, but he doesn't really eat at all, to be honest, which is so weird to me because, hello, food is amazing. So it's weird. But I guess I'll tell you how I became vegetarian or vegan. So for like I guess like growing up for eating, I hated meat. I've always hated meat. My mom, she never forced me to eat meat ever. And so I just kind of grew up on carbs alone. But my parents are divorced, so growing up it was every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday night I would go to my dad's for dinner, and I would have to sit at the table until my whole plate was empty, and that obviously included meat. And so it was hard growing up because I would run to the bathroom and spit the meat in the toilet and try to flush it, and I would get in trouble. And so my stepmom and my dad would make me sit at the table, and I wasn't allowed to go to the bathroom anymore. And they always said that when I would grow up, that it would just be kind of like a phase that I would grow out of. And I ate meat still till I was probably maybe 21 maybe. And then one day he was my boyfriend at the time, but I was at his house and we made these like chicken wings, but there was no bone. And I bit into one and there was like a vein inside, and oh, like it was disgusting. And so it was just right then I just decided I was finished. Like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I can't. So I stopped eating meat right then. But I didn't really learn anything about a vegetarian diet. Like, I didn't educate myself at all, really. And at the time, too, I was really into like fitness. Like, obviously, I still am, but I even did like a fitness show. Uh, and the trainer I had at the time, he didn't know anything either about a vegetarian diet. And so it was kind of like a kerfuffle. So like he would send me meal plans and I would have to change the meat to a vegetarian substitution. So at the time it was like all beans. And so I didn't really realize though that beans aren't all protein, that they're also like a large carb. And so trying to prepare for this fitness show, and it was my first time, and I had no idea what I was doing, and the food was different, and my lifestyle was different, and so it was so confusing. And so I went on like a few years of basically eating eggs all day, every day. Like egg whites mostly, and like bread, and like I didn't even really get involved in like the meat substitutes until a little bit later on. But yeah, it was super confusing. And then I started to kind of like learn a little bit more about, vegan food, and I started to kind of introduce myself more to other people. And I met actually a girl that I used to work with at CHS, and she was really into fitness, and she was a vegan, and I just kind of had like this girl crush on her. I still do, by the way, so if you're watching this, you know who you are. And so like she was just so cool and open, and her parents were deaf, so she signed so fluently, like she was goals. She's still goals. You're still goals if you see this. And so, I just started to think at this point I was vegetarian for probably about 5, 6 years maybe. And so I started to read and educate myself on really what veganism is. And I can't really remember if I read How Not to Die first or like watched a few like movies on Netflix. But I remember I was reading How Not to Die. Another woman from work actually told me about it, and so I bought it for myself, and it just blew my mind about how, conditioned we are as a society to believe that meat is what's best for you. And now I'm not saying that everybody will thrive on a vegan diet. There are certain allergies or conditions or sicknesses that a few people can't transition fully. And I understand that. But so many people are so close-minded and like food bias that they won't even try a vegan meal one time, right? It's so weird. But I was reading this book about it's basically, if you haven't read it yet, it's so interesting. You should. You should really read it. But it's basically about the world's like 15 most, I guess, dangerous diseases, and sicknesses that we die from. And then it talks about like the disease itself and then natural ways to, I guess, like protect yourself and to, like, if you already have that disease, some plant-based options on how to like heal yourself or promote like a healthier lifestyle. And I forgot to mention that this book is not about veganism, it's about health, right? So obviously there's a few different reasons why people go vegan in the first place, which maybe I should have started with, but a few people go plant-based, which is about food and health, and it's about, themselves, which is totally okay. And then there's the vegans that are there for the animals. And then there's, I guess, like an environmental vegan. So they're doing it for the world, right? I am all types. So I started because I thought that meat was just disgusting in the first place. And then once I started educating myself, there's certain things you can't unlearn. Not that you should want that, but once you learn it, I'm telling you, you will never go back. So once I started reading and educating myself about how unnecessary all of this is animal agriculture and, how it affects not only you, but the world and, your body and everything, that it just seems so odd to me that people are so against this when it's literally good for everybody and everything, right? And so, I read and I educated myself, and my husband was there at the time too, and he still drank milk and ate meat, and I would sit there and of course I would be so obsessed with all the facts and information that were in these books. I would say it out loud, and of course at the time this is all new, and so I want to share the information, and not everybody is okay with that. And I understand to a degree, but then we're getting back to the funny sort of like, why are you okay with eating meat, but you're not okay with knowing where it comes from? That's ignorance. Like, okay, if you're okay with, murder and slaughter and cruelty and things like that, like if that stuff doesn't bother you, then okay, like whatever, eat meat. But you should at least know and be aware of where your food comes from, right? And like I just find it funny too, right? Like it's also like a generational thing. Like it took a long time for me to change my diet from meat and potatoes to what I eat now, which is so much. Like everybody always asks me, like, what do you eat? My God, everything, everything. And especially now, there's so many more like fake meats, and everybody always asks, like, why are you okay with eating fake meat? Like, isn't it so real? And like, why do they call it that? Like, isn't that like offensive? But you have to understand, not everybody goes vegan for health or because they don't like meat. They go vegan because they understand what's at stake, literally and figuratively. They understand that the animals are suffering and that our planet is suffering too, and their bodies too, right? It's on different levels. And so no, I didn't like bacon before, but there are substitutes now that the texture is better, the taste is better, everything for me is better. And so yeah, I will eat like faken, Faken, bacon, whatever. And so I will eat that, and it's different. But like I understand everybody's different, And, I try not to push. I just want to educate people. And I want them to be aware, like it's so just like shocking to me that we have so much education and information available, but nobody's willing to read and research. You just believe everything that you're told. Your grandma and grandpa told you when you were younger that you needed meat to be strong, and so that's what you believe, but really that's just a lie. And if you knew anything about muscle development, you would understand that that's a lie. You just need, a good amount of protein, and you need to feed your muscles nutrients, and, like you can do all of that on a vegan diet. You really can. I'm vegan. I've been vegan for time and I do have muscles. Like, so it really can happen, and I understand that, there's a few people that don't really know how to start or what to do or how to start educating yourself, but it's really just about sitting down, going onto your computer and typing some stuff into Google and finding out the answers to your questions, or joining a vegan group if you're curious and you just want to know some stuff. Most people are open-minded and they'll help you because they want you to be more involved. They want to educate you. And of course, there are a few people who are rude and judgmental, but that's in every group of people, not just vegans or vegetarians or meat eaters or whatever, right? So you have to understand that you will come and you will be surrounded by some adversity no matter what you do. So you just kind of have to do what feels right for you. Now, some people don't want to go vegan altogether, but having some plant-based meals are still good for you. So I obviously would encourage that. Even if you don't want to go fully vegan, you don't have to, but even dropping 1 or 2 meals of meat saves so many animals and death and torture, and it saves the planet too, right? And we're at a point where all of this is it's really important. I can't stress that enough, that it's really important that you care about the planet and your body. You only have 2 homes and those are them. And obviously, and of course, if you need help or, support, even if 1 or 2 people watch this video, like let me know. Obviously, I can share some resources, or even if you just want to talk, like I'm okay with that too. But yeah, like all of this stuff is very available, food and information. And, if you took 5-10 minutes to read some real sources, not fake ones that, if you look are actually funded by the meat or the dairy industry themselves, which you would not believe the amount. Like, it's crazy. It's basically the food Illuminati. Not lying. Like it blew my mind. Like obviously, you think that stuff happens, but you don't realize how much and how that really impacts you. And so when I was reading and learning and educating myself, it was like mind blowing how, biased everybody is and how influenced we are as a culture, and it's just crazy to me, right? But yeah, so that's sort of like how I sort of became vegan, and along the way, my husband went vegetarian, I guess, but he's sort of at this odd, I guess, time in his life where he doesn't like food anymore, which is personally, I believe is more mental for him, but he doesn't eat a single vegetable. So it's crazy to me, like all he'll eat is like potatoes and bread and fake meat and milk, which I don't know, which to me is almost, just as bad, but we have these conversations often. And, you can't you can't fight for animal rights or the planet if you're dead. And so, if he needs milk to thrive, to get the nutrients that he needs, then of course I want him to live. So it's fine, but, if you have to eat meat, once in a while, there shouldn't be so much judgment as long as you're educating yourself on where that food comes from, or, trying to support like a smaller businesses that actually care for their animals, or, it's just the small changes that really make a difference. Okay? And then that aside, I often get asked a lot where I get my protein from. And the answer to that question is extremely simple. I get my protein where your protein gets theirs, right? You have to understand that all protein originally comes from plants, all of it. So when your cows and your pigs and whatever other weird animals you guys eat, when they eat their food, that's where that's where they're getting their protein from, right? And so I'm obviously the same. And like another way that I try to, explain how your body's, how your body sort of runs when you eat food is, so your body is a machine, and the way you feed your machine, changes the way that it works. So of course you can get fat, carbs, protein all from meat or dairy sources, but how is that affecting your machine? So usually it's, high blood pressure or cholesterol or, cancer and, all these other diseases. Like meat and dairy actually feed those things, and you can of course grow muscle, and you can, lose fat eating meat and things like that. Of course, that's, calories in versus calories out. That's very basic, of course, but the generalized idea is, eat less calories, automatically you'll lose fat. But when you eat a plant-based diet, the gears in your body work better, and, there's no cholesterol, and, there's lower blood pressure and lower risk of cancer, and, all of these things. And there's sort of this myth going around that soy is extremely bad for you, so everybody's all against soy, but that is false. I cannot express to you how false that is. Soy is extremely good for you, especially for women. It's very good, and it protects you against all sorts of cancers, especially breast cancer. So really, really do your research, and don't just go to one source, because you never know where that information from that source comes from, right? You want to look and check multiple sources and multiple resources, and, you really want to educate yourself on everything. And even at the end of that, if you still choose a mostly meat diet, maybe you'll be able to make some better choices, Okay, well, I think that's it. Let me know if you have any questions or concerns. Obviously, I know there's people out there who are going to think all this information is ridiculous, but this is me, this is my life, and this is why I chose what I chose. Okay?